had COVID been worse, just enough worse to really get our attention, to really be undeniable, we would have had a different political conversation around it. Brett Weinstein would not have been releasing 80 straight podcasts on the dangers of the vaccine if a few variables were changed. I mean, just take that, leave COVID exactly as it is.
Just change it.
Just make it preferentially dangerous to children rather than to old people.
Just that small thing.
One other variable. What if the vaccines actually really did block transmission?
What if the vaccines actually worked?
They in fact did. Let's say the vaccines really did block transmission, but then nothing else. Just give me a little more transmission blockage and give me kids being preferentially killed or injured by this
I'm not laughing at the
conspiracy thinking, the platforming of people who were obviously unwell and unbalanced professionally and mentally around vaccines.
Sorry, let me just stop that and rewind that. For the night's first hashtag confession through projection, Mr. Sam Harris. What did he say there?
And give me kids being preferentially killed or injured by this disease. Conspiracy thinking, the platforming of people who were obviously unwell and unbalanced professionally and mentally around vaccines and their skepticism. The patience for that would have been non-existent.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
I'm going to stop it there because I don't want the owners, I don't want the copyright holders of Billy Madison claiming a 2-hour stream because I showed 30 seconds of the most iconic scene in cinematic history, people. People say Rumble is not working. Hold on. It's working. Come on. Rumble is working. And now I've interrupted my mojo. Whoever said that, but don't worry, I'm not angry with you. Thank you for letting me know if it wasn't. What you just said, Sam Harris, is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point, and by the way, that was a 5-minute clip that I had to synthesize down because 5 minutes was too painful to listen to. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response did you come anything near anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone who listened to that is now dumber. I award you no points, Sam, and may God have mercy on your soul. Let me go put the link to Rumble in the chat and pin it. By the way, I give Sam a hard time because I take for granted he can take it. I mean, I know he blocked me on Twitter when he was on Twitter because of his last absolutely idiotic Trump derangement syndrome induced Trump tirade. I presume he's mature enough to reflect and say, yeah, that was a stupid thing that I just said. Let's just assume, for argument's sake, that the pandemic were much worse and targeted children, and the vaccine worked. Well, then Brett Weinstein would have no basis to have any sort of anti-vax. No Shiat Sherlock, or as I like to call him now, Sherlock Harris. If the pandemic targeted children, let's just change that around. That's not just a change. That is a paradigmic shift, if that's a word. Paradigmic? That is a shift of the paradigm. It's not like, look, not to be mean to old people. I'm halfway there now, so I can sort of I can walk both edges of this fence. It's not to be mean to old people, but illnesses that target old people are fundamentally different than any illness or issue that targets young people. And the reason is not a consequentialist, well, an old person's life is worth less than a young person's life, because they're not, in law. Murder of an old person versus murder of a young person, it's murder. And you'll go to jail for the rest of your life. You might have aggravating factors on sentencing. But when it comes to, illness, a pandemic that affects those who are already vulnerable and who have 6 months to 2 years left in their life, it's paradigmically different than a pandemic that affects the young that have 80 years left of their life, contribution to society, everything there. If we just change that one little detail, already off the charts stupid, Sam Harris. And I say this, you're an adult, you should be able to deal with this. If I say something stupid and I hypothesize one of the dumbest arguments conceivable, I expect to be called out on it. I will either defend myself or I will hang my head in shame and say, yeah, not my best moment. If the pandemic hit children, and if the vaccine worked, yeah, if the vaccine worked, I think we wouldn't have a problem with it, people. Oh, righty then.